This is Horst from K7, and before we start the interview, we would like you to see a little video from 21 years ago.
Yes, 21 years ago.
I'm Richie Houghton.
And I'm John Aquaviva.
And you're watching Dance on MTV.
You're still watching Dance, you're still watching the X Mix Week special from Prague. Next to me, the man who made it, it's first of all Richie Houghton.
And we're still freezing.
It's still freezing. And John Aquaviva. One question for you. I mean, was it the first project you really did together? I mean, John?
No, we've done a number of projects. I mean, our business was the first thing we ever did together, so we've been doing some records in production, but certainly the first project of this kind, like with music and visuals. And
So that means you also sometimes produce your music together.
Yeah, well, some of the earlier records we did on Plus 8 we did together, but this is the first thing we've done like musically together in about 2 years. So yeah, it's been a while.
So we check out the first video of the X Mix 3. Here we go. Okay, we're still sitting here freezing for Dance. And John, I mean, you did a lot of projects with music, and it was the first project you did together with visuals. So was there something special how you select the music?
yeah, we tried to get
Probably understand much, but
I can't remember, I don't know, it's 21 years ago. I can't repeat it.
but this was in Prague. And why did this happen? What was the setup here? Why were you sitting in a horse?
Okay, so in the early 90s we started a mix CD series called X Mix, which also had a computer animated video to go with it. And at this time it was the only opportunity for MTV to get access to cool videos, club videos, because everything was more Euro trash. And we released that mix CD, and as you have seen, that was the third in the edition with Richie Houghton and John Aquaviva. And about a week before the shoot, MTV called me and said, Simon Angel, the presenter, can't do the show. And there's only two choices, either I do the interviews or there will be no MTV coverage. And as independent as I am, I said, oh, a microphone, MTV, here we go. And it was, so I moderated all the shows in Prague. But I think more interestingly, what it actually shows is how naive, how underdeveloped the business was. Can you imagine me sitting in a horse carriage with John Aquaviva and Richie Houghton and asking these stupid questions? I mean, it really shows back in that day, you know, that all the companies were one or two man operation. Nobody of the so-called music establishment, booking agencies, record labels, distributor had dance segments. It was all just crazy people who were very passionate about this music, started it, and that's what I like about it. It shows the intimate way we were working together these days, because it was just a group of 50 people around the world who were really in electronic music these days, 50 companies.
I mean, on the one hand, it was very innocent and new and not very business-minded. But on the other hand, I mean, this was shown on MTV. So this was about the first couple of years where MTV got interested in electronic music, house and techno. And that was a moment in time when K7 with its X-Mix series, fell into a certain niche, because X-Mix was foremost a visual format. So can you explain how this came into being?
I mean, yeah, I have to go a little bit more back. I started my company '85 as a video label. I filmed bands like Nick Cave and Einstürze, Neubauten, and I was always very passionate about independent music. Electronic music came, and I want to produce a video for electronic music. And probably don't laugh now, but I said, it has to come out of computers. The music is out of computers, so the visuals have to come out of computers. It was by the end of the 80s. And what we did is we released the first video, and suddenly we got approached from computer artists from all over the world saying, hey, great, it's a platform where I can finally show my computer art. So more and more computer artists from all over the world contributed to that. So it was always, first one was Paul van Dyk, was his first mix CD. Second one was Laurent Garnier, then it came Richie Houghton, and name it, they were on there of these days. And every time 12 of the tracks were sent to computer artists and they produced visuals for it. And I think I can proudly say through X-Mix we defined how techno videos look these days, because everything which you see with tunnels and computer animation is probably influenced by X-Mix. That was before we start the DJ kicks, you know.
As you just mentioned, I mean, the company K7 has been around since 1985, I believe, and you started as a music video production company for independent bands. But, I mean, the first names that you were mentioning, Paul van Dyk, Laurent Garnier, Richie Houghton, who composed or who provided the music for the first X-Mix, they were already fairly big names in this techno and house and trance scene back then. Was it easy for you to approach these people?
I think it all started then. I think the concept of X-Mix was very exciting, you know, to have to say I make a mix for a visual video, and I also remember, you know, working with Laurent back in that day. He also said for him it's very important to show the roots of techno. He only wanted to have Detroit techno, which made me to fly to Detroit and speak with Mike from Underground Resistance to explain him that I, as a white bread, need all his music and everything. But yes, it was possible because nobody of them had a manager these days. But they had, of course, filters of saying bullshit filters, you know. And if they liked the project, and luckily X-Mix was something they liked, yes, then it was possible to work with them.
And then pretty soon, I mean, more or less from this moment on, 1994, 95, all that K7 did for a while was electronic music. Was this because you had the feeling, okay, this fits, this is what we should be doing?
No, it was more, I think it was more the innovation. I think I just was so amazed about the emotions coming out of electronic music, and that I just wanted to be involved in it. And from there we spread a little bit more out, because we just felt that electronic music is not everything we listen to, you know. And we went more into hip hop, and had various hip hop labels, and also later on joined up with Strut, and later on also joined up with BBE. So I think it's what is driving K7 is the excitement of music, or more what music emotionally is doing with me and probably with you as well. And that happens in various genres. It's not only electronic.
One very simple fact that sets K7 apart from its contemporary labels, electronic music labels that were founded in the late 80s or early 90s, is that it's neither an artist-run label, you've never recorded electronic music yourself, but you're also not an A&R. So what did this mean, or what influence did this have on the company?
I think what that has for the company, at the moment I have 3 A&Rs in my company, and I think they're all really happy that I'm not an A&R. I think on the one hand is for me, my passion is to give A&Rs a platform where they can perform their art. I mean, we're servicing about 20 labels, and we have 3 of our own labels, and we're in management. So my passion is to create an environment for an A&R to explore his music and to achieve his goals, if they be financial, creative, whatever they are. And I'm fascinated what A&Rs can cook together. You know, it's like, you know, I'm in love with that.
What initially, after the X-Mix series, K7 became known and famous for was its DJ Mix series, DJ Kicks. And that also sets it apart from other labels at the time, like Ninja Tune or Warp in the UK, that have always been more artist-focused. And I think you can still see this now, because you associate K7 less with individual artists, but more with something like DJ Kicks. And when DJ Kicks started, I mean, there were other DJ mix series around, but what made you start this DJ mix series back then?
I think it was also we had X-Mix by that time, and it was just very much four on the floor. It was just too much club orientated, and we wanted to have a platform which is more personal and which is more home listening, and that is actually DJ Kicks. And also being now, I think DJ Kicks now is a hybrid between an artist album and a mix CD. Because when we speak to artists, we say, look, what is the tracks you want to use, but also create your own music towards it. So, and I think that's for many artists very inspiring to say, I'm not in that one format that I have to produce an album and I have to record everything new, or I'm doing a mix CD and I can only use that. And that's where X-Mix is a hybrid at the moment, and that's probably also one of the reasons why many people are still excited about the release.
And I mean, your most famous artists were Kruder and Dorfmeister, and I mean, it's kind of almost like a running joke that they've never made an album, but their album was the K&D Sessions, and that's a compilation of the remixes they did, and I think it sold over 1 million records over time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are artists that are strongly linked in also with their other projects, with the label. But then starting at the mid-90s maybe, you did become an artist label as well, and you asked artists to record albums for you. How did this transition happen?
I was just frustration. I mean, I remember even strong friendships with Laurent Garnier. We were produced the X-Mix by the time I got my first kid, and we were always at home and we were cooking and thinking about where is the clearance of the track. It was really intimate, and I really enjoyed the intimacy, and I was frustrated about this one-off projects and said I want to have a record label, I want to have a long-term relationship with artists because it's genius what they can do, and I want to work with them on a long term.
And then, who was your first artist that you signed? Do you remember?
Kelly Han from Detroit was the first artist on K7. Yeah.
Okay. Any idea what she is doing these days?
She's still in music. She's still making music.
Okay. Then another important step for the development of the label was, I think, more or less actually the big record industry crisis starting with the year 2000, because more or less soon after you started also this new label service department. Was this a response to the crisis?
I don't know if it was a response to the crisis. It was probably more the idea to make something which allows us to release small records. Because I'm not a fan of big records, because I think big records have to develop from something small, and I'm more excited of making something small big than becoming involved with something which is already big. And if you have something which is small, you still have to do the full job for that release, for that artist, if it's small or big. So it was just impossible for K7 to have offices in London and New York if we have 6 releases a year with about, I don't know, 4,000 to 5,000, 6,000 sales. So the idea was really to create a collective of like-minded people, of saying, look guys, let's do that together in a way that we, of course, licensing the records for you, but really releasing them under your input. We take all the logistics of you, like manufacturing, shipping, blah, 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 blah. But more importantly, we also help you to market your artists, because we feel that K7, the label K7, is a competence partner in a certain segment in the market. But we know that segment in France, we know that segment in Belgium, we know that segment in America, we know it in England. And this allows us to really help our partners to position their artists in that segment. And the reason why we have now 26 people in the company, and have offices in London and New York is because we have a collective of about 18 labels which go with us, and on top of that, our own 4. All together, all that brings us to 80 releases a year, and that makes a sizable business that we can give attention to records, which a record label itself would never be able to do. And that's the idea behind it.
I mean, for the public, they might not know this because all they see is the records that are labeled with K7, and that's the occasional DJ kicks and albums. But the sheer number of labels you're working for, I think, I mean, some of the labels that you're dealing with are Rush Hour or A&Rs, Crosstown Rebels. I mean, you can add more, but I think the first ones were actually BBE.
Yeah, the first label we teamed up with was Beat from BBE, and I think everything which has a BBE stamp on it is I would not say is K7, but is actually managed through us since 2003, you know. And for a while we didn't want to become so visible about it because we felt like perhaps people think we are too big. Now we are thinking to become more visible about all the records we're doing, because it's more about curation, especially on new artists. We just also worked with a new artist from Berlin called Dina, which we're working with directly with a management company on a global level, where we decided to also to use the K7 logo to give guidance that this is a sound connected to K7.
So you're not offering these label services only to labels, but also to artists directly. I think Fat Freddy's Drop is another.
Yes, we did the last 2 Fat Freddy's Drop album. We did the Whitest Boy Alive album worldwide. And I think also Whitest Boy Alive is probably a good example. We developed the idea or the concept with them. We did all the cover artwork for them. We released the album for them worldwide, and nobody knows that behind this entire machinery there was K7.
More or less, can you explain, I mean, what is the difference to what a label would do? You're basically offering all the services that a label would do.
I think there's 2 things. On the one hand, you have the straightforward logistics, like metadata, delivery, manufacturing, shipping, blah, blah. But the more important thing is the marketing expertise. And the marketing expertise means that we sit together with our client and say, what do you want to achieve? With coming back to Whitest Boy Alive, it was like, I don't want to do any interviews. I want to get only recognition by playing live. I want to have a high packages, and I want to find a way of going into retail without doing all this stupid stuff which everybody's expect me to do. I think we successfully found a way. And so, but I think that's a more important part, and that is changing from every artist to artist. When we're working with Dina, it was very clear that Dina said, or the management of Dina said, we don't care about making any money on that record. We want to have every money available to be invested in marketing. And with Fat Freddy's Drop, it was for them very important to keep the record small at the beginning, because they want to work with their original fan base, but as soon as the tour kick in, to have a strong marketing bust. And I think we're very proud. We're up to 60,000 records now in Europe, which is for us an unbelievable number. So every marketing campaign is different, and I think that's also what it is now. There's so many ways you can release records, and that's probably where K7 comes in. We're releasing many records, and we know what to do to reach certain goals when you want to develop an artist. And I also think that it's more about market value development. I don't think it's so much anymore about releasing records. I think it's with a record and with a marketing campaign, you're creating a value. And this value brings in certain income streams, from record to publishing to live to merchandising. And unfortunately, the record is still the key player of it, because that's a problem we have in our market, that there's too much, the record is too important, perhaps it's too important, you know. And then once the value is there, and then it's a question how you participate on that value. You know, are you just straightforward the label? Are you taking a cut of everything? And I think that's very much of what happened before, but I think it's more about value creation these days, and then agreeing how you participate on each income, than it's actually about releasing records.
But what you've been just saying with the increasing the value and developing an artist, then having said that, what sense does it make for a label like K7 to still put out DJ mixes, like DJ kicks?
What it is for K, I think it's, I mean, we are proud of DJ kicks, and we want to make musical statements, and we hope we can excite people with it. We're passionate about music. We're not a business machine, you know, I mean, we're still passionate about music. And especially with DJ kicks, I have to say I'm a little bit proud to have a series going for so long, and being able to adapt the series to a market, and now having this uniqueness of having a hybrid between an artist album and a mix CD, and seeing what kind of artists we can excite about it. Yeah.
And one recent DJ Kicks by Brandbauer Frick, it's actually an artist that you're also managing. So it's not just the label services, you're also a managing company now. You used to manage Hercules and Love Affair, Brandbauer Frick, and you're also looking after Tricky.
Yes.
So does that mean at the same time you're managing them, but you're also offering these label services to them?
I think when Brandbauer Frick came to us, it was a very obvious example that what they do was very exciting for us, you know, this techno musical with this classical background, and the opportunity to play big concert halls with their acoustic ensemble. But we also knew that there's a straightforward ceiling in that market of the music they're doing, and that ceiling is with 10,000 records. That's just there. Don't go any further. And we knew that we cannot do what needs to be done for them with that ceiling as a record company. So we said, look, let's really go into a management, because they are a baby band. So we set them completely up by publishing and lawyers and everything. And invested a lot of money in them, and always worked their releases on break even. So we never budgeted any of the records from Brandbauer Frick, same we're doing with Tricky, to make any money on the record. It's all about developing market value in order to have other incomes. And otherwise, I think if we would have signed Brandbauer Frick as a straightforward record deal, I don't think they were where they are now.
How important are streaming services for what the artists that you're working with at the moment, or how significant is that?
For us, streaming is very significant. I mean, I think we're also in a situation that we have a catalog of about 300 albums in the market over the years we've signed. And with streaming, we also see that finally there is access again to our music, and that comes into remuneration and into income. We are not a single, we're not really in a singles business, yeah, so we're not in really, and I think there it becomes very tricky when it's all about the revenue of one hit, you know. That's not our business so much, we are more in the album business, and there it's actually, for us, it's very healthy, and because we see converting from non-payers into payers, we see our total business going up through streaming, and we also, what I find very interesting to develop is, or to see, is what is happening to streaming, because the music industry is coming from a point where when music comes into the market, it comes high price, and then it goes down price. And by subscription, it's exactly the other way around. Subscription always comes in low price and then goes high price. So if you look how much you paid for your first internet connection, how much you paid for your first TV package, and what you pay now, if that is also happening to music, then we see an extraordinary strong increase in streaming and in the entire market. So we are absolutely pro-streaming.
And we have to wrap up soon, but because you started out as a music video production company, I was wondering what your thoughts are, because with electronic music nowadays, visuals are maybe even more important than ever. You have all these big stage productions at festivals, and do you see maybe, is there room for maybe another innovative platform to put music and videos together in electronic music?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm also sure it's not going to come from me. I think creativity is something where you have an idea, and and you have the idea for a reason, and you're passionate about it, and you can't repeat these ideas, you know. And I don't want to repeat X Mix. I think For all of you who are above 35 probably remember the series, and I'm really proud that I have done that back in these days, but I don't want to repeat something like that.